CookieSwirlC? Of course, it was Halloween Day when Cindy got sent to detention for the first time. What is really sad is that it wasn't even Cindy's fault. She was a good student. She never got in trouble. In fact, she often looked the other way to avoid any conflict, even when she saw other students like Lou and Parker cheating during a test. Not even when she noticed that Mandy had asked to go to the bathroom and she didn't return until a minute before class got out. She never said anything. That is why it was so shocking to Cindy that she got detention. Here's what happened. Cindy had been sitting next to a Labubu in history class. Another student was standing in the front of the class giving a presentation. Cindy was trying to listen to the presentation, but the orange Labubu next to her kept distracting her. Well, not distracting her directly. The Labubu had pulled out a pencil from its flower pencil pouch and began chewing on it. But to Cindy, it wasn't the sound of normal chewing. It was a mix of wet, sloshing, and dry wood scraping. It was almost rhythmic. Each scratching, soft, brittle bite pounded on Cindy's eardrums. It just kept chewing and gnawing on it. The sounds of the Labubu's sharp teeth on the wood were making Cindy's ears hurt. She gritted her teeth as she tried to focus on the history report, but she couldn't take it. When she looked around the room, all the other students were paying attention. Was no one else hearing this awful chewing sound? Then it happened. Snap. The pencil broke in half like a bone breaking in a horror movie. All at once, the whole class turned around. The Labubu froze in place, one piece of broken pencil hanging from its mouth like a licorice stick. Cindy's eyes bulged. All the students were looking right at her. The teacher stood up from the desk and pointed. "Cindy, detention!" Cindy was shocked. She didn't know what to say. She couldn't get the words out. Everyone was staring so intensely at her. "It wasn't me! The Labubu did it!" The students started laughing, but they were still looking at Cindy. "Now!" the teacher hissed. Cindy quickly tossed her books and notebook into her backpack and headed for the door, her ears ringing at the sucking sounds as the Labubu resumed chewing on the small broken pencil half. She didn't want to look back. She knew it would be smiling. Detention was in room 0. It was strange since it was a room wedged between classroom 14 and classroom 15. It wasn't on the school map either, yet it was nestled in the hallway. It was just an unspoken room where disobedient students shamefully went. And now, Cindy was one of them. She found an empty seat in the middle of room 0. There were 3 other students already seated, serving their time in detention. 2 of the students were sitting in front of Cindy. The other student sat behind her with his head down. As soon as she sat down, Cindy swore she heard them whispering about her. "She didn't do it. The pencil cursed her." Then the room went silent. The clock above the board ticked loudly. Cindy was relieved to see that she would just be here for 2 hours, then she could go home. She pulled her hoodie over her head so no one could recognize her if they had walked past the windowed door. She pulled out her notes and started right away on her homework. Snap! Her pencil broke as soon as she started writing. She pulled out her sharpener and twisted the pencil to a daggered point, then started writing again. Cindy immersed herself in her homework. She completed all the homework assignments for 3 of her classes, plus the optional science extra credit assignment, and she got a 4-page head start on her English essay that wasn't even due until the end of next month. But her smile vanished the second she looked up from closing her notebook. Staring at her from across the room was Echo, the black Labubu, who had somehow graduated even though he had failed every test in school. He was grinning at Cindy and pointing up at the clock on the wall. Cindy looked up and screamed. The hands of the clock hadn't moved forward. The clock now read that she had 5 hours left in detention. Time had reversed. The other 3 students started chanting around her. "Break it, break it." Cindy looked down at her hand. She was clutching her pencil, pointy side facing up. Her knuckles were turning white. "Break it, break it." The students stared at Cindy. Echo just sat there, grinning. Cindy looked down at the jagged pencil point. She raised it up, and this time she didn't hesitate. Snap! 2 pieces of broken pencil dropped to the floor. The lights flickered. The clock reset to the current accurate time. Cindy was now 2 hours past her detention. She could leave now. She grabbed her backpack and flew out of room 0. She didn't even notice that Echo was gone. The other students got up and left. The class was empty now. The only sound was an unbroken pencil rolling to a stop on the desk that Cindy had sat at. I have a story for you. Once, my friend got a Labubu. When she opened the box, she got this dark gray one. It wasn't on the collector side, what you can collect. Honestly, my friend was okay with it until the next day. Her face turned red like spots of blood, and she was confused about it. And the next day, the Labubu was nowhere to be seen. But when she went to school the next day, it was in her desk, smiling, but not a normal smile. And then no one ever saw that Labubu ever again. This story takes place during the last week of October on a foggy Monday morning at Ashfern Academy. In classroom 10, the students shifted in their seats restlessly, waiting for the teacher to appear. It was very unlike Miss Lil to arrive late to class. She always started English promptly when the bell rang right at 8 a.m. But today, something was off. The clock ticked to 8:15 with still no sign of her. The students began talking softly amongst themselves and using their cell phones while they waited. But when Miss Lil was close to an hour late, they really started to worry. A few students peeked their heads outside of the classroom and peered down the empty hallway. Another student went to the large window and looked out past the parking lot covered in falling leaves. There! The student saw something! Purple, fuzzy fur hiding behind the oak tree in front of the school entrance. The students squinted as they watched tiny little claws grip the side of the tree. The students' heart raced as they watched without movement for the purple creature to show itself. Boom! All the students in the classroom jumped. "It was just the door," laughed James. "How could it be the door if there is no wind? What made it shut?" asked Belle. "Principal Lear is coming," Henry shouted as he darted from the hallway window to his desk. All the students quickly took their seats and sat as still as possible. Principal Lear opened the door and walked to the front of the class. The principal pulled on his navy blazer uncomfortably and cleared his throat. "Your teacher is out sick," he said in a very dry tone. The students looked around at each other, confused. This was weird. Miss Lil never took a sick day. Students never even saw her outside of the classroom. She was always at her desk, smiling. She even had been seen eating her lunch in the classroom. "Your substitute teacher will be here in a second." With that, Mr. Lear turned on his heels and left the classroom. But just before the door shut, a Labubu with purple chalk-dusted fur the size of a desk rolled right through the door to the front of the class. It raised its fuzzy arms and smiled. The whole class froze. The students just stared, speechless. The Labubu tapped a sharp nail on its chin as it brainstormed. Its ears perked up as its hands frantically moved around the wall, layered with posters, sparkly ghosts, and other Halloween decorations. The Labubu's eyes twinkled as it started ripping down papers from the wall. The class still sat in silence, watching with mouths open. The Labubu grinned widely as it uncovered a very old chalkboard. Its sharp nails skittered around the bottom lip of the board, searching for any leftover chalk from decades ago. It tapped its finger on its chin once again, deep in thought. Its eyes sparked with inspiration as it leapt on all fours to the back of the classroom. The students' eyes followed as the Labubu rummaged through the drawers that only Miss Lil was allowed to use. It was searching each drawer quickly, leaving the doors open as it made its way through the cabinets. Then it found what it was looking for. The Labubu made happy little snorting noises as it held up a half-used bottle of glitter glue. It rolled right back to the chalkboard and squeezed out today's lesson in the glue. The Labubu stepped back. It didn't speak. It just pointed to the drippy words on the chalkboard. Lesson 1. Obey. Surprisingly, the students enjoyed their day with the Labubu substitute teacher. The Labubu taught the curriculum in fun riddles. It gave extra credit for filling the class with dry ice fog during science, and Tim got an A+ just for giggling while answering a question. The Labubu handed out worksheets that were covered in stickers, challenging the students to complete the assignment around each glittery sticker spot. A random pop quiz was given, with questions asking, "To learn is to forget," and "To pass is to vanish." Every student who answered correctly got covered in confetti. Every 5 minutes, the Labubu would pick a student at random to draw their feelings on the chalkboard. By the end of class, the board was covered with cute, artsy little doodles. Then came the final exam. It was one simple question in the middle of the stark white paper. What is the shape of silence? The students quickly started writing down their answers. They were so busy with their heads down writing that no one even saw the Labubu leave. It just vanished. The next day, Miss Lil was back, composed and smiling at her desk, greeting students as they took their seats. Everything in the classroom appeared to be normal, too. The chalkboard had been covered back up with posters and papers. The little bits of confetti had been swept up from the floor. Miss Lil looked to be feeling well, but one student did notice something strange. Each time Miss Lil touched her perfect hair, a faint puff of chalk dust drifted into the air. I hope you enjoyed these Labubu stories. Bye, Cookie fans!